dress for the occasion, did you notice?
Gray.
Gray on gray.
Could you give me one of these?
Oh, here, can have this one.
Oh,
Yeah, you take it.
thanks.
Steve and I can share.
I know there's more over there.
Yeah, we can share.
I'm not gonna follow that.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can stay for the whole night, or do you just have to?
I stay for the whole day, but you can stay for as long as you want.
Yeah, don't worry, come to the first half hour.
Yeah. It can't be a long night, depending on, like, these planning board meetings go to like 10:30 at night, so you get late, yeah.
I hereby announce and state that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by virtue of a resolution scheduling the time, date, and place of the meeting of the Borough Council of the Borough of Morris Plains for the year 2024, which resolution was adopted by the Borough Council on January 4th, 2024, and published in the Morris News and a Daily Record. And by the posting of such resolution on the bulletin board in the Borough Hall, all the above actions be in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gord.
Present.
Ms. Verga.
Present.
Mr. Bruhn. Mr. Cortez.
Present.
Ms. Goddard.
Present.
Ms. Kelly.
Present.
Mr. Wagner.
Present.
Thank you.
Kathy, anything short for conference?
No, I already, you answered my question already, thank you.
Okay. Dennis?
No.
Nancy?
Short, what do you mean short?
We have a personnel issue that we have to address with Mr. Trimboli.
So there are a couple of things. The AAP Community Challenge Grant, I wanted to ask if anyone had any recommendations for what we could apply for this year. And then one thing was the playgrounds are going in that we have grants for, but there's, I don't believe any, all abilities equipment.
Simons will have, but whichever.
So there's something already included in the plan?
Yeah.
Excellent, okay, great. So if there's anything else you guys said, we've got the sidewalk for that, the crosswalk.
Crosswalk on Mountain Way in Franklin, and then the
Right.
sidewalk, the signage was all part of that grant, so something along those lines that kind of helps everybody. It's more so sometimes the seniors for these grants too.
Yeah.
So
It's a good one.
if anybody thinks of anything, let Nancy or myself or somebody know.
The Community Energy Plan Implementation Grant, we've been talking about the next stage and the next phase of that grant. The first phase we're completing now, and it's on the agenda to be voted on tonight, to submit the plan. But the second phase of that would be to actually apply for implementation grant money that's available to the 44 municipalities who submitted a plan already. That number's gonna increase, the number of towns who are submitting that grant. So it's a great opportunity for us to get in on, I think there's $3.4 million out there, and we can receive up to $250,000 per project for that, and they told us to submit multiple projects. So one of the things that we're looking at is, with the council's, for consideration by the council, is additional EV charging stations at Community Park, at the Borough Hall, and we have a local resident who's been sort of helping us kind of craft that, you know, if we're gonna apply, he's got the expertise to help us do that. To make sure that we enumerate the costs effectively this time, make sure we have power to the chargers and all the things that we need to be included in the cost. So does anybody have any other feedback on that, or other things in the plan that you think? We also thought we could apply for some vehicles, that if we're going to be purchasing hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles, that we could put that as another request in if we're.
I don't think the police department wants to hear about electrical vehicles.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
mistaken.
Well, that's what the state wants to hear, so that's what the police department's gonna end up hearing.
They went to chase somebody, the car didn't move.
He did weigh in on it and said that they have
Oh, good.
administrative
I'm glad that you got his
vehicles,
input. Thank you.
detectives have vehicles that they need to get, you know, around it, and that might be an appropriate use. Anything else? You guys good with that? EV
I
chargers?
think the additional charging stations, and is there any way that the two that we have by the freight station, is there any way that we can increase the
I think
Speed.
we're locked
voltage
into.
there, or
I
the
think-
power?
I
Yeah.
think we're locked into those though.
Those, to work on those?
Yeah.
Well, for these new ones, we're looking at level 2, so they'll be much faster.
What is the speed on that, like average?
80 mega.
Bytes per hour? Or how long does it take to get charged for?
A couple of hours.
Oh,
Couple hours. It's not bad if you had a baseball game, you know.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
not while you're working.
You can
So,
go enjoy a meal at the diner, right?
Yeah. Oh, the ones downtown, I don't know how long those take.
You
but
gotta go
I
to
know
the
it's
TV
fun.
before.
Okay.
Breakfast and lunch.
And then, the other thing that we had to continue was the discussion on making the, fire prevention official position full-time. We discussed it, I think, the prior two meetings. I think I have memos that were submitted from the fire department going back to 2017, asking for this discussion to take place. And,
We're gonna hold off on that for now.
well, we don't wanna hold off because there are a lot of people here to hear about that, and if we hold off, we're gonna be doing it at midnight and no one will get to hear about it, so.
I have a pertinent personnel issue that has to be addressed, that Mr. Stromboli is here to address tonight.
Okay, well,
It came up
if
yesterday.
you look at our bylaws, the executive session actually occurs after the meeting, so I don't know why we would preempt our conference.
Mr. Stromboli had somewhere else to be this evening, so hopefully he can get in early, and he has a long drive down to the shore, so we asked whether we could, accompany his presence early.
Well, I don't think we have a lot of discussion on this anymore. I mean, the information I've gotten now is that we have, in Morris County, we have 14 towns that have a full-time fire prevention official. Of these, 8 municipalities are volunteer fire departments. There are 19 departments with a part-time official. Some may have full-time inspectors, so it's misleading to think that they're part-time fire prevention bureaus, because they may not be. And at least 14 of these municipalities have passed the apartment inspection ordinance, which will allow us to inspect apartments as well as single-family homes upon change of occupancy.
Nancy, you're gonna continue this, but if we can get the personnel issue done, we may have time to come back and discuss this when we don't have to stop.
So we're going to have the public leave the meeting.
Correct.
Well, I just wanna finish, it will be 5 minutes.
You're gonna end up having to say it all again. Nobody's gonna be able to rebut or talk or ask questions of what you're saying, so why don't you save
No,
it
I
till
wanna
the-
make a motion for a vote in 5 minutes, so I'm gonna
No,
finish.
you're not gonna make a motion for a vote
I can make
for
a motion
5
for a vote whenever I want. I can make a motion for a vote,
Nancy,
yes.
I run the meetings. I will tell people when we can make a motion for a vote. Okay?
What's not the right way?
In terms of well, that's an interesting question, but in terms of a legislative act like that, I mean, this is a strong borough.
Could you speak up,
Yeah,
please?
speak up.
So, okay, so to answer that
Still
question.
can't hear you.
So I'll answer that question. The question becomes whether or not Borough Council has the right to make a legislative motion here. Under this particular form of government, which is a council form of government, it's just, it's a weak mayor, strong council form of government. It's an interesting question, and under the borough form of government, the mayor is the chief administrator of the borough. He runs the meetings. Generally speaking, there's a body of law out there that deems that to be administrative in nature. Accordingly, based upon the fact that it is a council form of government. And I wasn't prepared to answer this question per se with any research, but I do think that the appropriate answer is that a motion can be made by council.
I was asked at the last meeting to look into shared service, so this discussion took place. The concerns that the fire department has about a shared service for this position is communications about what is in these buildings. If somebody from outside of their organization is doing these, is overseeing the inspections, they don't always get the information they need to know what they're going into. They don't see the reports that go to the state for the life hazard units either. The other issue with this is that we have a volunteer fire department, so when if there is a fire and it's in the middle of the night, they have to wait until the fire official comes and inspects the scene and does whatever the fire official has to do at the end of the fire to investigate and write a report. And so if this person is from out of town, there's, our volunteers are out there, after some probably, traumatic experience. So that was the second reason that they were not in favor of a shared service. Mostly it's the information that they wanna make sure they have. And so that was the question remaining at the last meeting. And, I feel comfortable with the information that we have, that this is not a financial burden for the borough because this is a position that brings in income. Also, that the position is needed based on the demands that have grown in the borough in the last several years. We've been getting by because our current fire prevention official was unfortunately unemployed for a couple of years, so we had the advantage of having a part-time worker that was basically here full-time. We don't have that anymore. The work that needs to get done can't get done after hours many times. There are businesses that need to be consulted with, and they need to, meet with realtors during business hours, and in an after-hours capacity, that is not really possible. So you would, for the person that our fire association elected for this position and appointed, and the mayor appointed and we approved, the full-time job is something needed. We wanna expand their role to do these apartment inspections. Some apartments have never been inspected in the borough by the state. So the need is there, and does anybody else have anything to add since the last meeting? Because I know there's people here who didn't hear the first discussion, but I don't wanna reiterate everything in the interest of time.
I'd just like to say something real quick. I wrote this last time we discussed it. The Morris Plains Volunteer Fire Department is 100% volunteer for 116 years. In all those years, not once have we asked for anything that wasn't needed to keep our firefighters or residents safe. It's getting harder and harder to find people to volunteer on anything, let alone a potential life-threatening fire department. Guys my age who have served 25 years or more cannot continue forever. The guys that you saw in the room tonight in the last few meetings, they're the active firefighters, and they have their full support for a full-time position. They're also ones looking up to the governing body and asking us to listen to what they believe is needed to keep everyone safe. The town is growing, which puts more demands on all emergency services. When our police chief asked for additional officers to keep up with the demand of the additional and existing residents, the current governing body did not hesitate to hire 3 new officers. The fire department doesn't always get the same respect. They had to beg the mayor and council to get the Fire Prevention Bureau a used police car with over 100,000 miles. The Bureau was very grateful to get that. There's no reason there should have been such a battle. The governing body should appreciate the years of dedication, experience, and almost cost-free what the Morris Plains Volunteer Fire Department provides the town. And when the fire department asks for something, the council should recognize this as something necessary to the life-saving services that we provide. The daytime response is the most challenging time and the majority of our calls. Having a full-time fire prevention person would help keep our business owners, new and existing residents, and our visitors safe that come to Morris Plains to work, shop, and eat. I think we're being a little penny wise and a dollar foolish in keeping the role part-time. Some of our other part-time positions, like our janitors, recycling coordinators, to name a few, make more than our current part-time fire prevention chief. The workload is there to support the position full-time. The fees collected will offset more than half his salary. I don't think this is a difficult decision. Hiring Chris as a full-time fire prevention chief is not turning the fire department into a full-time paid department. Fire prevention has its own budget, and it's separate from the fire department. If we don't act now, it's the potential of having a paid department for Morris Plains, or having another town cover our calls, which would cost more than what this position would hold. Chief Kevin Rongo has 35 years of active volunteer firefighting experience. I've served alongside Kevin for 27 years. I know Kevin as a dedicated, honest, trustworthy, frugal, and truly loves and cares for the residents and the town overall. Kevin is a resident, an employee, and a volunteer fireman. I ask that the mayor and council hold him up to the same standard that we do with Chief Karowski, who, when he asks for manpower or vehicles, the governing body does not hesitate to supply. Most of us on the council, when we ran for re-election, we all said that we support our first responders. I would say that we please support our fire department, Chief Rongo, and our fire prevention bureau. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. I think everyone up here would be able to vote. I had asked at the last meeting if we could have in closed session a salary discussion before I just feel like voting now is putting the cart before the horse. Like, do we agree, or I'm asking, I would just like to have a salary discussion, and protocol would be to notice the employee. So I'm suggesting.
It's about a position, it's not an employee.
At this phase, it's not about an individual, it's about establishing the role.
Right, Councilman Wagner, that is correct. I don't know the substance of the motion that's going to be made shortly here, but what it does sound to me like, and what's been suggested, is that this is solely for purposes of determining whether to make what's now a part-time job a full-time job. It doesn't also include parameters as to salary, as to individuals, as to candidates and whatnot. I think it's just a position and a position only. Quite frankly, it raises other issues if we were to go beyond that at the moment in any event. So you don't have that luxury of going much farther than determining whether or not to make a part-time position a full-time position. Right now, you can't then discuss salaries, you can't discuss candidates and things along those lines, because there's a process there.
So we could have those discussions.
Correct.
At some point, but it's assuming that you were to make it a full-time position, one of the things you'd also have to do is amend your code, because your code currently doesn't provide that. So before you know.
The code doesn't specify though,
Well, it says the 1-year appointment, if I recall, when I looked. So you would have to put in there somewhere that it's a full-time position. And you can't really have in a code, I don't think, a full-time position that's a 1-year appointment, that runs continuous. So you would have to update the code. But that's, it doesn't stop, or, it doesn't hold up or stay or whatnot, the action of council. But that has to be done in the future to lay the paperwork for salaries and positions and individuals and whatnot.
I thought the fire association had to appoint a fire prevention official every year, regardless of full-time or part-time.
They do that.
Yeah, but, so why do we have to amend the code? It still has to be appointed.
I'm not gonna answer legal
I mean, not
part.
appointed,
Yeah.
elected.
The association recommends a person and we just, rubber stamp it.
I'd have to look.
So would it be fair then to make a motion then to agree that if we could come to a agreement on a person and a salary, that we wanna make this role full-time? Is that a fair motion?
I'm not sure, well,
I think they should just be a position full-time.
I don't, can you say it again, Nancy?
Everybody should ask these questions prior to the meeting, we wouldn't be in this predicament.
What's the motion?
To make a motion to extend the position to full-time with the understanding that we're gonna come to an agreement on salary for this role in executive session and discuss personnel. We can't discuss those now.
But we still need to amend the way it was going with the 1-year position to make it a full-time.
But we're not
That's
sure
gotta
we
get
do
done
have
first.
to.
Sorry?
We may not have to, because I think they have to appoint every year. So I don't think that,
Well, once we have a full-time position, there's no more appointed anymore. They're done. This is-
No, it's still an
it's the
appointed
fire
position.
code.
Oh, they have, okay. So even though we have someone, so how can we say we're hiring someone full-time if it's subject to association of a person? Is that legal? So we have a full-time employee, but, wait a minute, come December, we guys say the association wants, is that what we're talking about? I just wanna
No, I imagine
I
what
just wanna be
happens-
clear on that.
Councilman Cortez, I imagine what happens there is if you make the position a full-time position, assuming that the fire code does provide for this annual appointment, then it would become a full-time position that at the end of every calendar year, the association would make that appointment. Presumably, they would make the same individual appointment every year. But that, I think that answers your question.
So the mayor appoints.
So it's a
They-
12-month
They
position.
elect, and then the mayor appoints, and
It's a-
then the council votes.
It's a 12-month position with a full-time position.
Well, every position's at will, right? They could all be terminated or.
No,
that's
I think
not
the
true.
mayor,
I'm just
the
trying
mayor
to,
appoints with the
All positions aren't at
consent of
will.
council. But the association plays a part. I just don't have the code in front of me, but I recall the last time I looked at it was several weeks ago. It's appointed by the mayor, confirmed by council, but with the recommendation or whatnot of the bureau.
Probably similar to your position, the engineer, we have, right? Similar, not the
Those
same.
are
similar.
professional
No,
agreements.
It's
Similar.
different, well,
No, it's not.
I don't think this discussion could have not happened here because we all have questions and we have to have it in public because we're all together. This discussion, we all have to understand what the ground rules are here.
Right.
So I'm gonna make a motion to extend the position to full-time. I know there are further discussions that have to happen about personnel that we can't have in public, but separating the motions out into the position and then the personnel. So,
it has to be said.
Okay, I think we just need to
The
clarify
motion
that
legal?
motion a little bit. Is the motion, as I understand it, to make the position of the fire marshal essentially full-time?
Yes.
Is that the motion you're moving on the table?
yes.
Am I able to say anything before this gets seconded?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You can comment, but you don't have voting power unless it's a tie.
I'm utterly disappointed in this council for pushing this through like this. There were 2 meetings that there was discussion on. 2 meetings. After 7 years or 5 years, which I thought the discussions were going well. One council person said 2 meetings ago, make a motion that we vote on it definitely at the next meeting. You're making a motion now that we vote on it in 5 minutes. I don't understand
Well,
what.
you're not giving me time. You didn't give me the time I wanted, so I said, give me at least 5 minutes.
This kind of decision takes a lot longer than 5 minutes with everybody's discussion. 2 discussions at a council meeting is never enough for something like this. Just a couple things. I remember when Chris Shea came in here, 2021, I believe it was, maybe something like that, sat down here in his chair and talked about the job and the position. And I think, and I've talked to Chris Shea about this as well, so this is nothing that hasn't been said by anybody, or to him, or anybody else, and the chief. That he sat here and petitioned for a job for himself. How the borough owed him a job because he had lost his job, which is a terrible thing. I'm sorry that happened to him. Chris is a professional, knows this business inside and out. I don't know the particulars, but that shouldn't have happened. And when he left that day, I remember the whole council's jaw was a little bit on the floor. Every person on this council, their jaw was on the floor, saying, I cannot believe that what we just heard. He's petitioning for a job for him. There was nothing about safety. There was nothing about the fire department. There was nothing about any of that. It was about one person, one individual, how this town deserved to give him, or had the right to give him a job because he was laid off. Everybody on this dais was shocked. And don't tell me that didn't happen, because everybody talked about it afterwards. have you looked, or have you talked to anybody else outside of this town about, the position?
Yes, I talked to the county, I reported that at the last meeting.
No, that came from Kevin Rumsey,
No,
you said.
I spoke to the person who trains firefighters at the county about this.
What's his position and role up there?
I'll look that up. I mean, the data on this has been going back since 2017, so it's
That's
not
not
like
the
we have.
question.
But you make it seem
That's
like we
not
haven't
the
discussed
question
it.
that I asked.
It's been discussed, it's just nobody brought it to the floor. So
Right.
I'm doing that.
So you brought it to the, what was his name and what was,
I'm
and his
looking it up.
position?
His name was Leon or Leo, I'm looking it up.
Steve, what time do
I
you have to
got a
leave?
lot of questions from everybody, and instead of going to the professionals, they went to me. Instead of going to the people who are in the job. Yeah. His name is Lou Pepe, head of training at Morris County Fire Academy.
Is he a fire inspector? What's his credentials?
He's the head of training at the Morris County Fire Academy.
Know any other credentials that he has?
I did not ask him, I
Did you
asked him.
speak to any other municipality or any
Yes.
other directly? Has any other council person reached out to any other municipality or anything, the county? Sal, have you?
Through Anna, yes.
Art, have you?
Talked to Jim Davidson, he said there's no way that any town will be able to cover another town inspection.
Joan?
I didn't.
Dennis?
I didn't.
Kathy? At the last meeting, I asked a question from your report.
Mhm.
You said, you were talking about inspections. I said, are all the inspections getting done now? Your answer to me, or to the whole council, was yes.
They did get done last year because the
Right.
person was unemployed for half of the year, so a lot of the work got done in the first part of the year.
You also said that, part-time is not practical. Is that correct?
Well, what's the context? I
That
explained it a little more.
being a
than that.
part-time inspector is not practical.
I said there's a lot of work that has to be done during their business day. So
Right.
if somebody's doing it part-time after hours,
Yeah.
it's difficult to conduct this position as an official. Inspector maybe, official, no.
Okay. I don't understand, you had, information from Signature Place that they do these inspections, is that correct?
Yes, I did. I also have information from the Highlands that their fire alarms are going off and they have, they're doing them, they're all doing them themselves, the inspections, and somebody that I know is leaving the Highlands because of debris and things like that needs to be taken care of, and we need someone in there doing that for us. We need someone from our departments, from our inside.
We have 2,100 homes in the borough.
Yep.
How often are those homes looked at? Are they looked at?
The homes are looked at when they change occupancy. The single family and
Some may have not been looked at for 35 years.
Nobody looked up.
when they change occupancy, they get a chance to go in there by law. We can't just go into somebody's
Right.
house. That's not legal.
Right.
So we're trying to make it fair so that when apartments change hands, which is 30% of apartments turnover every year, that they're inspected and that they're safe for the other residents in the building and for the family that lives in.
But that inspection does go on with the building